Walking through the city, lights all aglow. Everybody's got a story to show. Wheels keep spinning, streets overflow. Hustle never stops, we're in the flow. Skylines high like our dreams in the air. Concrete jungle, we got flair. Rhythm of the night, we don't care. Underneath the stars we breathe rare. In this urban jungle we're alive. Heartbeats echo as we strive. Dreams collide where the streets survive. Together we'll thrive, side by side.
Hello, everyone. You may have seen the void there for a second, but hi, I'm your host, Laura, and I'm joined today by the panelist, Ray. Ray, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm tired. Why?
Good. Okay, now for all you crazy people trying to watch this show and the Leftist Collective at the same time, stop it. Get some help. Okay, don't try to watch 2 live streams at a time. It's not good for your health. I'm looking at you, Kiwi Skirt, by the way.
I thought that was you.
No, I'm not watching 2 streams at once. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, tonight Sam is not here with us. He's off selling coffee. He's on a grand adventure selling coffee. Now, do I have a bit of lag with my camera?
No, I think it's just auto-adjust. Maybe
Okay.
Some lighting issue.
Shaz, don't tell me you're one of those mad lads. Anyways, I'm glad you're here, mate. Welcome.
Where is Sam selling coffee? So if people want to go.
Newtown Market.
Oh yes, it is.
Newtown Market. Yep, you damn straight I called you out. You're the only one watching. Oh, look, we've got 7 viewers. Okay, nice.
Right,
Okay, so tonight, guys, it's going to be a little bit different because Sam's not here. But he's essentially given me the reins to do a deep dive into the regulatory standards bill. So I've kind of written out an entire essay.
Excellent.
So let me just, I don't need to share screen yet, but yeah, so basically I'm just going to be doing the introduction now. So welcome everyone. We're going to be reading up today about the regulatory standards bill. We're kind of doing a bit of a deep dive into the history of the bill. Now, understandably, very few people actually know about what this bill is about because we've got about 20 years worth of history we've got to get through. And I can't do 20 years in 2 hours. That's impossible. But I can cover the basics. And that's what we're going to do tonight. So we're going to cover some of the basics, and we're going to be looking at the have your say on the regulatory standards bill and some of the submissions that went in for that. So what do you think about that, Ray?
Is my microphone okay? My microphone okay?
Your microphone is fine.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, no, I'm super excited. I had thought that this was going to cover something to do with Monsanto, which really gets my blood boiling. But however, I'll be all ears as your human experiment to try to read the bill on the last day of submissions available, because that's what
Right.
I heard about it.
Your audio's a bit choppy.
Okay, I'll work on it in the background.
Okay, all sweet. Okay, all right. Okay, so the first question that we've got to ask ourselves when we're dealing with a bill like this is, what is the regulatory standards bill? Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the document that we're going to be reviewing. So I'm going to put that in the chat now so people can follow along if they feel like torturing themselves. So I know I did that for the last couple of days. So that's what we're going to be looking at when it pops up on my side. There we go. Alrighty. So that's what we're going to be looking at, folks. Going to be looking at this. So I'm just going to open it up on my side, and I'm going to do screen share.
Yeah, cool.
Okie dokie.
Well done.
Alrighty, now we're going to do the screen share. Share screen. Yep, there we go. And I'll open up my notes while we're at it. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. So, have your say on the proposed regulatory standards bill. This came out in November 2024. Okay, very good. Okay, so before we get into the nuts and bolts of this, what is the regulatory standards bill? What is it? So here I've got in my notes, the regulatory standards bill is designed to allow for regulatory stewardship, which is defined as, in this document, as the governance, monitoring, and care of regulatory systems. It is meant to strengthen regulatory oversight and improve the quality of regulation through legislative means. So basically, the idea of this bill is to improve productivity by developing good relations. Good regulation, not good relation, good regulation. We want good relations too, folks,
Yes.
but yes, developing good regulation, which is defined by David Seymour as to, and we got a photo of David Seymour being David Seymour. Look, actual photo. See? It's proof that I have read this document. Okay, so defined as by David Seymour is to encompass any government intervention that is intended to direct or influence people's behavior or how they interact with each other. Regulation therefore includes, but is not limited to, legislation. So why do I bring up this guy? Why this guy? Well, the reason why I mention him is because the Regulatory Standards Bill was previously introduced as a members' bill by David Seymour. He also wrote the minister's foreword. So let me just zoom out a bit for you guys. There you go. He wrote this. It's about 3 pages long. Okay. And he wrote this on this document. Have your say on the proposed regulatory standards document. That's the name of the document we're looking at. Okay. So let's zoom down to page 16. Okay, righty-ho. Here we are. Okay, so why a regulatory standards bill? Why do we need this? Well, according to this document, New Zealand's current regulatory oversight arrangements are underdeveloped compared to many other countries, right? So that's what he pretty much says here. So everyone can see that and read that. Very, very good. In particular, New Zealand tends to rank low relative to other countries in relation to oversight and quality control of regulation. And this document goes on, let's click on this little citation. That's a little pro tip. You can actually, you see the little numbers that are put next to a claim, right? Pro tip, you can actually click on these and it takes you to a source. Okay, so basically the document cites the OECD Regulatory Policy Outlook 2021 report. So how about we look at that? I think it's really important that when politicians write documents like this, that we always look at the source. What are they citing? And I'm going to put a link to this report in the chat so everyone can, again, torture themselves with information. There we go. And I'm going to share this other link. Okay, half screen, picture. I'm still figuring out how this works. Okay. Replace screen sharing. Very cool. All right. Yes, got it. Okay. So this is the document we're going to be looking at now. Okay. Alrighty. So now we're going to go down to page 270. And yes, I did go through this entire fucking document. It is 300 pages long. The stuff I do for fun.
I lose audio? Oh, right. Laurie lost audio. If you can hear me, I was just making sure I've shared this stream to my Facebook page, and I currently refuse to be logged in on my computer, so I was doing it on the phone, and the phone is the camera, so sorry about that. Laura is muted while testing. Try again. That's
Hi guys, I'll jump in for a moment. So we appear to be having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's going on, sorry guys. Laura says, oh no, hold on, in the private chat. I also don't know why Ray doesn't have a camera. Yay, the joys of trying to do things on your own. Woohoo, let's go.
I explained to it.
There you are. And your audio is still really choppy too.
I tested
You've got some robot
before and it
going
was
on.
fine. It's a faulty connection here. Because, it's a Windows update and my $300 headphones decided to revert their firmware to an unusable state, and the support team couldn't help me.
Right. Well, here, people can stare at pretty things in my background for a moment. Ray, I'm going to run you my headphones. Joys of living in the same house as other people. I'll be
They
back.
usually work. Don't know why Laura suddenly.
Okay,
Yes, hello?
can you hear me now?
I can.
Can everyone hear me in the chat? Because I'm so sorry about that, guy. That was a leftist audio moment if I've ever seen one. Okay. Righty ho. Can everyone see this now? Hey Laura, you're back. Thanks, Kiwi Skirt. I think I'm back. Yes. Awesome. Okay. See, David Seymour can't stop me that easily. I will do my deep dive into this bill whether he likes it or not. Okie dokie. All right. Okay. So back to where we were. Okay. So we're going to cover New Zealand, right? Regulatory management policy. So New Zealand has progressively refined its regulatory management policy in recent years. Regulatory stewardship represents a defining principle within the Public Service Act 2020. And the Chief Executive of the Treasury has recently given formal responsibility for its promotion across the public service. Now, what we have found here is that going through all of this, and this is a lot of words, and again, I've put the report in the chat earlier before I crashed out. Yes, okay. Right, so this page here, if everyone can see it, that's for the statisticians in the chat. I don't know if there are any statisticians in the chat. I'm not a statistician, but I know this much. This is a stacked bar graph, and it shows how a large category is divided into smaller subcategories and what the relationship of each part has on the total amount. The total value of the bar is all the segmented values added together. Now, if we look here, we've got indicators of regulatory policy and governance, IREG, okay? And if we look down here at the notes, okay, The more regulatory practices as advocated in the OECD recommendation on regulatory policy and governance the country has implemented, the higher is IRG score. These indicators on stakeholder engagement and RIA for primary laws only cover those initiated by the executive, so 92% of all primary laws in New Zealand. So, as we can see here, looking at this graph, okay, this one is of note, and I will get into more details about why this is important. So, reading this graph, okay, and this is the same data that David Seymour cites in his documents that people get to submit on, okay. Reading this graph, it appears that New Zealand could do a lot better with ex post evaluation of regulations, and we can improve transparency. So, you see this color here, this color bar here, that represents transparency, okay. We don't have a heck of a lot of it here. We fall a bit short. So the OECD average for 2021 is a lot higher than what we currently have here in New Zealand. Okay, so what is an ex post evaluation? Well, the ex post evaluation is an analysis that determines whether the regulation has met the objectives for which it was designed and identifying what problems are associated with making modifications and or adjustments. So yeah, we can see looking at the data that David Seymour is correct in identifying that there is room for improvement. But what should really be kept in mind here when reviewing this data is that in 2021, right, it was a politically tough time around the world. We had COVID-19 running amok. And so the have your say on the proposed regulatory standards bill document, what I found is that it actually made next to no reference to COVID having an impact on regulation. Whether this report has, on pages 15 and 16 under the executive summary. So we'll go into the executive summary, just a quick hop and a skip away, ladies and gentlemen. Come down, come down, come down, come down, come down. Aha, executive summary. Wonderful. Okay, so under pages 15 and 16 under the executive summary, okay, COVID-19 has exposed gaps in domestic and international rulemaking that have cost lives and livelihoods. While regulating in times of crisis requires major adjustments to processes and, in some settings, shortcomings in evidence, an impact and risk analysis and stakeholder consultation or in cooperation with other governments. Basically, COVID-19 has carried a very heavy price when it comes to regulations. So, see if I can highlight that quote here. I've got my quotes here in front of me. Just see if I can quickly find that for you folks, so you know that I'm not just making it up. COVID-19, last 3 years policy. Yep. So it's forward. Anyways, you can quote me on. You can look up pages 15 and 16 of this report. I will put the report back again into the chat so everyone can look at it. Okay.
Beyond the health
So everyone,
crisis, rapid digital transition and climate change all require governments to be flexible, regulate faster and better, and cooperate globally. Okay.
Okay, so that's the link to the document that I'm reading from. All right. Okay, so now we're going to go back and have a look at the document. Okay, excellent. Good. Open up my notes again. Okay, all right. We'll go to page 17 now of this document. Okay, we're on page 17 here. Okay. So page 17 says that the idea of a regulatory standards bill is to strengthen regulatory oversight and improve the quality of regulation through legislative means. Okay? So here, that's what I'm referring to. Was first proposed in 2006 when the Regulatory Responsibility Bill, so that's what it used to be called, was introduced as a private member's bill, but did not progress past its first reading in Parliament. So that's really interesting, especially when you look at the Hansard reports. I don't know if you've ever looked at those reports before, but it's basically just a transcript of the debates that happen. And that's normally what I look at too when I take notes for the show. So do you have any thoughts so far?
Oh, yeah,
Right.
me. Yeah, I was
Am
sort
I
of like, I want to get to the juicy bits.
juicy bits? Okay.
Like,
we're gonna get
because it could be, without enough information, it could be any reason, could be positive or negative that the bill didn't pass first reading.
Yep.
Suspend
Yep.
my display.
Okay, okie dokie. Right, so we'll just close
I
that
think I
up.
read a little bit of that. I'm trying to remember how much I did cover before I had to
Mhm.
be like, fuck, I need to start typing my response.
Yep. Now this one is really interesting. This sequence here. This is on page 10 of the same document. So basically, for those that are following along, the document cites two examples of regulation not being consistent with best practice. The first being briefing for the incoming Attorney General, which is in a report that was published in 2023, and the second being regulatory institutions and practices, a report published in 2014. So he cites all of these. Here we go. Yep, that's what he cites down there. Okay. Alrighty. So, folks, it's always very important to read the sources that are being references. So we can go through that and read that together if you guys want. I know I want to because I've taken a lot of notes on this stuff.
I
Ray,
think,
how do you feel?
I trust for your summary, I suppose. Like, let's see, you've done the research, so tell us what you've found.
Fantastic. Okay. So I'm going to post the link to this report here.
So that's legislation and design action committee or something. What was that? LDAC.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to be citing next.
Oh,
So that's the first one that I've got. Okay. Right, let's open this up. Yay! Opened it up. Okay. So on page 13 of this report, there we go. It says that at speed, sorry, my mistake. There we go. All right, we're going to.
ah. Oh, we lost your microphone again for no apparent reason. Laura, you've gone. I think it's your magnifier. It's coincidentally no, but it worked before. Alright, the speed at which legislation emissions. Right. The pressure to work efficiently or tight timeframes can come from expenses with inadequate processes. Yes, this is a risk. Emphasizing complexity. So clear on which speed to apply. Drive to the conditions when they change, reduce your speed. Okay, cool. It's all common sense. Don't know why your microphone cuts out. Nice. Do a little dance. I find my submission. Gosh, it was late at night. It became rambly. Should be a copy of my email. Inventory, no. Standards. What would it be? What was it? The end of January? simply click on the links because it just puts them on the screens. That is all in the background. Here, but it.
Okay, guys, I know this is the worst stream ever. My microphone keeps cutting out, and it's not going as well as I thought.
Which side of the city do you live? Do you have to come here for show night?
I have to go to your place for show night. Okay. I had this envisioned in my head that this was going to like, oh yeah, this is like a epic, epic research dump stream thing, and yeah, this is not working out the way I want to. So I have newfound respect for live streamers.
Yeah. You'd be amazed at what could go wrong. You think you planned everything, and then it's sort of, yeah.
I thought I planned everything. I thought, right, we're not going to be streaming any videos, so my computer can't crap out that much. But yeah, it's because like I wrote down all my notes in a lot of detail and everything as well.
Using a reliable pen and paper.
Yeah, using a reliable pen and paper. Okie dokie. All right. I just don't know why my microphone keeps cutting out, eh? So what could be causing that? Okay. Handy dandy notebook, yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, so what I might have to do instead is put the links in the chat and just read directly from my notes. So my computer doesn't keep crashing out, or so we don't, die from boredom or whatever. Okay. So, what's funny about the speed, right? Because I was looking at that briefing for the incoming Attorney General. It stated that the speed at which legislation is developed underpins many of the issues, right? There are a lot of issues when you rush through legislation. And I find this statement to be very funny, considering how fast the current coalition is passing its laws. And here is an example of what I'm referring to. Put that in the chat so people can read it.
Right.
Okie dokie. Right. Now,
yep. Okay,
let's try my screen without the internet crapping out. This is what I'm referring to. That's what the link should take you to. So it's very funny that the Governor General, right, in the briefing there, stated that, look, if you rush shit, you break shit. Okay? So, yes, what have we got currently in power? We've got a government that has set the record for laws passed under urgency in the first 100 days. All right, so back to the notes. The underpinning issues are on page 12. So go back to this report. Yeah. All right, can everyone see that back to the report? No, can't see that. Okay, go back to this one. Okay, share the screen again. Wow, we're figuring this out as we go, folks. Come on.
Yeah.
Replace screen sharing, please. Nope, it's refusing to share my screen. Wow, okay. Let's try this again. Okay. Come on. Okay, now we're here. Okay, we're back here again. Okay, now let's go back to my notes. Man, Sam's going to have fun editing this video. It might not even make it. It might not even be saved onto the actual channel. I'm sorry, Sam. Okay. So, underpinning issues are on page 12. No, don't want to bookmark it. Okay. LDC. Nope. Okay. I'm pretty sure I actually saved this down. Back to the point. Underpinning issues are on page 12. Come on, go to page 12. Okay, I've still got audio, right? I have to keep double checking.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Right, future note for self. Write down the exact section that you're looking for. Okay. So in the LDAC's experience, issues of conflict with existing legislation often occur when they're in an expedited or pressured policy development process. That sounds very familiar, right? Because we've got a lot of these bills being rushed through. Like I said, this government has got the record now for passing the most law under urgency, right? So undertaking careful analysis of the existing body of law will be critical to ensure any conflicts or interactions between policy and existing regimes are appropriately addressed in the new legislation. So basically, to sum it up in English, slow the fuck down, do your homework, and consult the experts. Now, I should really take that advice to heart because I keep screwing up this presentation. Right, okay. Here we go. Okay. All right, so unfortunately, I know you want to get to the juicy stuff. I know you're really eager to get to the juicy stuff. But the problem is with these sort of bills is that you've got to do the back reading first. So here's a pro tip, by the way, for those that want to write submissions. And I know you're both thinking, pro tip. Pro tip. Why do you want to do a pro tip when you can't even do a string properly? Well, hear me out, guys. I may be woke, but I'm not entirely hopeless. So here is a tip, okay? The tip is to read the regulatory impact statements. This is a great idea if you want to write your own submission. A regulatory impact statement is a summary of an agency's best advice on a regulatory proposal. So I'm going to share that link here. Share this link here. So if you want to write submissions in the future, okay, this is a handy dandy library that you can look at to read what the experts have to say on a proposed bill. Just open that up for you guys so you guys can see it.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't just click links. Control click or something.
Just give me 1 second, please. Okay. And we'll share the screen. There you go. Look, this is the library of what all the experts have to say. These are regulatory impact statements. Okay?
Our work. So, one of the reasons I was looking at this bill on the last night of submissions is Stacey had seen a TikTok video and showed me. Someone else was talking about it because they looked into it more. One thing that was interesting was a Maori advisory committee wrote their impact statement, and large parts of it were redacted, and it was difficult to even you click on the link in the proposed bill to use. It wasn't. It had a bad link. I seem to fix it later. Modernizing professional media regulation. Gosh, there's a lot of new content here. Okay. Attendance management plans for school boards. Skip back a bit. February. Well, regulation.govt.nz doesn't even want to load on my computer now. There's my screenshot. Oh, it did load. Just give me 50 pages, 50 results. Oh, sorry, I'm not prepared to host one day. As I said, I also thought we were going to be ranting about signing away rights to labeled foods or something. When I wrote a submission, I acknowledged that, yeah, okay, some like in the interest to keep everyone happy and protect the environment, sometimes there is maybe a lot of too much regulation, but also like with oversights or things being missed or shortcuts being taken because people refuse to follow by the book, then it's like, well, are these things not being investigated properly? So I even gave suggestions. What about you just have a like, so when you can have a justice of the peace that can verify your identity, why can't you have someone that's sort of elected by a township to be the guy to make the call, just be like, yeah, this is all good, and we'll iron out the details and check everything later. But he can come in and say, yes, you appear to be working in good faith with the best interest of all the parties involved. You're not just digging a hole and pouring your rubbish in there, or ignoring cleaning up, because forestry was a huge part of it. Unregulated forestry actions, because it's just too expensive to regulate things, and it hasn't been made attractive, and everyone's just saying, take what you need and worry about it later.
Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for covering for me. I think I know what's happened. Is every time I keep opening up other links,
Laura might be doing a complete system restart.
Laura's here, you weak.
So
hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Give me
I don't think Ray can hear me. This is like the best stream ever. I know Sam's probably having a heart attack. He's like, what the hell's going on?
Right?
Don't worry,
great.
I'm stressed too. Because this is not what I had in mind.
No fear. I don't think this is what any of us had in mind.
Oh,
but
wow.
yeah, Ray thought that we were covering the Gene Technologies bill tonight, so he was amped up and ready to go. But he
really?
was so mad.
So Ray thought we were doing the Gene Technology bill tonight.
Yes. Ray, you are still screen sharing.
That's fine. For some reason, like, if I try to, all I can do is show comments. I can't click on the links you post in chat. So anyway,
Okay.
sharing.
You know what, Ray? Let's do the Gene Technology bill. It's probably going to work out way better for everyone if we cover that bill. Because I'm like, here at this point, it's like, everything I'm doing ain't working.
Well, I mean, just tell me your notes and we could discuss the bits. I don't know. You did have a structure, and I appreciate that. So my dives aren't structured enough in that, but I accept that that's why I'm not an expert in these subjects.
Yeah, well, in a way, all right. Let's change strategies a bit.
Cool.
Let's have a more casual conversation. Rather than this formulated crap. I can always do a video later on and upload it when I'm not having to jumble a whole bunch of links, and I can just do a nice, clean PowerPoint presentation and just put that up on the screen.
That sounds good.
Okay, so
I'll watch it. I'll share it. I'll share it, and one person will like it out of my 600 friends.
But yeah, basically, I mean, having gone through over the notes and everything, basically what's happening really is that you got David Seymour over here saying, listen, regulation is getting in the way of productivity. And we've got all these OECD reports saying, hey, New Zealand could do better here, therefore let's just nuke everything and just give all these agencies self-control. They can regulate themselves. We don't need to put as much funding in. We can save money for the taxpayer if we do it that way. The problem is, the big problem is that when you do that, right, every single report I've gone over says that none of this is going to work if agencies lack funding, right? You can't develop good legislation if you defund all of these different agents that are important for developing good legislation.
Oh. So he's not...
Another thing that I found too in my notes is that, and I recommend again, if you go over the principles for this bill, is that there is no reference to the treaty. In fact, the document actually states that in addition, it is not proposed that the bill would also include principles, a principle relating to the Treaty of Waitangi. And there's no reference either in David Seymour's principles for this bill to the environment or to New Zealand's international obligations. And that's what I found, reading all the submissions in relation to this bill, that there is a lack of obligation or lack of upholding in the principles for Te Tiriti, the environment, and our international obligations. And that is not good. That is not good when considering you see what's happening right now with the Cook Islands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have a bill that excludes those things. That is not good regulation.
Right. I should just throw my screen away for a bit. So, I mean, I found this preliminary treaty impact analysis. So you've read through this, and
yes, I have. I've read through some of it.
But this is what kind of concerns me.
That also concerns me because if you recall back before my computer failed and my presentation failed, the OECD report was right in that document was saying, "Oh, read this and then make a submission based on it." Right? It states very clearly that there's a lack of transparency, and there should be more transparency, especially after legislation is put in place, so we can avoid doubling up on laws and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because that's where a lot of the waste and a lot of the frustration is coming from for a lot of these different industries and agencies. Duplicative bills. And it's very funny. I actually read through the Law Society's submission. They pointed that out. They pointed that the principles actually double up on some of the legislation that's already in place. So his own team who wrote this hasn't even done their homework.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, and as soon as I start detecting those sort of inconsistencies, that's when I start just thinking that they're not listening to other people, and that's when I start mistrusting, because the introductions to some of these recent bills in processing are very great, or at least they're persuasive. They sound like that's exactly what we all want.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's a copy, guys, of the Law Society submission. I really highly recommend reading this, because this is a big eye-opener. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to click on that and have a look at it. I can go over my notes on my end and point you in the right direction. And that's funny, considering I couldn't point myself in the right direction. But I can go over my notes and that I took from that submission if you'd like.
Open it.
So, approximately, I can give you guys a rundown of how many submissions were made in response to that, in response to the kind of like draft stuff. Proposed regulatory standards bill. So there was about 23,000 submissions in total. And this was one of them. New Zealand Law Society. This was one of them. And I really like their one because the New Zealand Law Society is notable, their submissions, because they're a parent body for barristers and solicitors. Now, barrister's just a fancy lawyer. And I often like to read what the New Zealand Law Society has to say on things.
Yeah,
because
right.
These are the guys. Yeah, these are the guys that have to interpret the law and often debate the law in court. So we look at it here. I've got some quotes that I really like, some highlights. So the New Zealand Society actually supports the aspiration to improve lawmaking processes and to improve the quality and effectiveness of legislation and other forms of regulation. So, again, I mean, we don't have to be lawyers to see that, yeah, improvements can be made there. We looked at the data from the OECD. We can see that there's a bit of a gap there. There's improvements that can be made. Now, are David Seymour's improvements the right sort of improvements that we should be striving for? Well, the New Zealand Law Society continues to hold significant concerns with the latest proposal for the legislation in the form of proposed regulatory standards, and notwithstanding the changes that have been made in previous iterations. So there have been changes, because this is the fourth time this bill that's going to be proposed. This is going to be the fourth time it's going to be debated and discussed and stuff. So, we've had 20 years so far of this bill, getting to the steps of Parliament, being debated in Parliament, and 3 times it's already fallen flat on its face, and now David Seymour wants to try again a 4th time. So I think that's also another reason why I've been paying attention to this bill. Because
yeah. Sorry, go on.
That's all right.
The discussion document highlights the fact that the requirements and guidance for good legislative and regulatory design are located in different places. However, a placement of the proposed principles for the proposed bill does not provide a response to these issues, and in fact appears to compound them.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of keep saying that. They fail to identify the problem that they're saying exists. Therefore, yeah, it should be more of a request to the advanced lawyers rather than say, "Oh, I'll get my team to throw it together." Just all right, everyone, tell me that I can do it. Yep, thanks.
Yep. Yeah, there is a lack of consultation,
and that in itself is unhealthy. Like, that is the path to. Yeah, if you ever see someone withdrawing, like, do your best to stop them withdrawing, because that's when they lose perspective and might, you're in.
Yeah, I mean, again, the fact that there is a lack of consideration here for, like, the environment, TTDT, and our international obligations is alarming enough. This the coalition has a running trend at the moment of not consulting groups that are going to be impacted by bills and by future legislation. And that's really alarming. And that's what's been brought up time and time again in a lot of these submissions. Hey, you didn't consult us as a group. Hey, you should have consulted this group. It's like, that's quite alarming.
Yeah.
So I really liked the fact that if you looked up their points of concern, the Law Society actually brought up 5 points. And the point 1 being inadequate consultation, which is funny because that's what we've all been saying this year. It's like, where's the consultation? Why wasn't this group consulted on this bill? Yes, and that's also a problem here with this bill. Yeah. And there's the second problem that they've identified is problem definition. The discussion document, that's what we were reviewing before, that's what David Seymour wrote forward for, is that it lacks clear, concisive, and inclusion of the most important elements of the problem. So here's an example. Most of New Zealand's problems can be traced to poor productivity, and poor productivity can be traced to poor regulations. That's an actual quote from David Seymour. The problem is, to make this claim and for it to stick, you need data to support the correlation here between poor productivity and poor regulations. And hey, believe it or not, I've actually got another report here. It's from, yes, the government, the document, the original document does cite this one here. This one here. That one there. Okay, so that's actually in David Seymour's document. And again, I highly recommend that when you go through these documents that politicians write and their consultant teams write, always check the sources and check their claims. Check what the document they're citing is saying, and checking if it actually is supported in the document they are citing from. So that is critical thinking 101.
I just want to point out that I like that in part of the URL, Pixie Inquiry RIP Final Report.
yeah, RIP Final Report. And like, oh, okay, Final Report, okay.
Version 2.
Yeah, rest in peace, catch you next time.
yeah. But yeah, in pages 28, 29 of that report, it does state the following points, and I think this is important. New Zealand's very centralised constitutional system and the absence of a budget constraint on the production of regulation creates a bias in favor of more regulation. So basically, where are the handle? Where are the brakes? Where are the brakes? Where are the brakes? There's no budget. Just keep making more and more laws. Keep making the laws.
Why?
And there's another issue here too, is that New Zealand makes more use of statutes in implementing regulation compared to other countries. And the statutes often address matters in considerable detail. One effect of scarce parliamentary time, so that's not enough time in the House and not enough time developing this legislation, is that it can be difficult to carry out repairs and maintenance on existing legislation. So basically, you've got politicians, they don't have enough time to fix shit, so shit it keeps being broken, right? And then you end up with frustrated people, you're frustrated agents, frustrated businesses and whatnot, and they go, well, the government's fucking useless. Well, what tends to happen is that if the government doesn't have enough time to fix stuff doesn't get fixed. So as a result, regulatory agencies often have to work with legislation that is out of date or not fit for purpose. And finally, and I really like this point too, finally, New Zealand does not have strong processes for reviewing regulatory regimes, leading frequently to set and forget mindset. So again, what we see with David Seymour is that when he wrote that document, there was a failure there to review previous legislation that already did the shit that he wants to do. So it's just doubling up on crap.
He doesn't seem to be very good at doing his homework.
Which should be a general requirement of awareness in your field, I would think.
Yeah. And that's just the second complaint.
Or have your team to point out to you that, like, hey, don't go writing this, but I guess he's ignoring you.
Yeah. And that is honestly that is just the second point. I mean, the Law Society found 5 key issues. The third one that they brought up, or no, hang on, just to continue on the second point before we move on, is that all of the set and forget mindset and all of that stuff that I just cited before, none of this necessarily supports the idea that we should give industry more self-regulation, right? So the logic doesn't quite follow. However, what we did find from that 2014 report that David Seymour cites is that it does support the idea that regulation should not be rushed, regulation should be reviewed, and the process should be transparent. So again, we're going back to that data that I brought up before, that graph, showing that, yep, there's a problem with transparency in our regulation, in our regulatory process, the way how we develop bills. We need to fix that shit. Okay, so, and that, again, that's just 2 points that I've covered so far from the New Zealand Law Society submission. What are your thoughts so far?
David Seymour really needs to learn how to do his homework.
Yep.
For a starter. And yeah, while there are some things that need to be fixed, there are things that don't. And you can't fix everything with a blanket approach.
No. You can't deregulate your way out of this problem. You can't just give all of your problems that are the result of Parliament not doing their job. You can't just give that over to the private sector. That's not how shit works.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and once again, and that's just like stuff that's in the bill. We've also got to pay attention to the stuff that's not in the bill as well that's been proposed, like the lack of reference to the treaty and the lack of reference to the environment and the lack of reference to our international obligations. That scares the shit out of me, considering he's the Minister for Regulation.
Well, so 300 pages, there's nothing mentioning, foreign impact?
Oh, no, that's in the discussion document. So that's that document that you've got open on your end. That's the 2014 report that he's referring to in his original discussion document. That I don't think he's actually read through. I think he's just found a bit that he likes and go, yep, that will do, and then just slapped it in there without reading the rest of it. So it's like, hey, here's a part that agrees with you, but here's the reason why, and it's like, oh, okay, yep. let's ignore all the stuff, or let's ignore all the recommendations and everything. I've got my own bloody idea. We're going to do it my way. So that's kind of like David Seymour's approach here. So there's actually another really good submission that I think is worth looking at for people that are listening in. This one comes from Simon Upton, the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment. And this is a really good submission too. Posting the link in the chat. Here we go. Highly recommend having a look at this one. This is a really good one for those that are environmentally conscious. Does a great job at pointing out the holes in the bill. In his key points, he states that if the proposed bill is indeed about improving productivity, then its principles need to be focused on securing benefits in excess of costs, right? Where environmental regulation is concerned, any such benefit analysis should aim to include valuation of ecosystem services. So that's an actual quotation from his submission. And I agree. It's important to weigh out the cost that legislation or lack of legislation will have on the environment. But that's not covered in the principles that David Seymour's put forward for this bill. You've got there is a cost. It's like, right, if you take minerals from the earth, for example, there's a cost for going over and repairing and securing the site and reforesting the site, clearing out pollution and all that stuff. That's very, very expensive to do. And if that's not being considered, right, that can actually put New Zealand into further debt than it currently is. And it can put communities, like we've seen in America, in more inequities than before. Like over there, it's like they've got problems with water pollution as a result of fracking and result of oil extraction. So again, this is another really good submission. Highly recommend people read this one. But those were the main two that I really liked because it covered the three main issues with the bill that keep coming up time and time again, which is the lack of reference to the treaty, lack of reference to the environment, and lack of reference to our international obligations.
You go, Ray. Well,
yeah, go ahead.
International obligations. I'm quite interested in that.
Yeah, so that's like our trade agreements with other countries and any treaties that we've got in place. Like we look at the Cook Islands, the free association that they have with us, and the ability to have like trade agreements and stuff like that with China.
Sure.
Right? So it's important that we uphold our end when it comes to that type of regulation. So the idea of going over there and like taking over control of the Cook Islands would kind of be in violation of that. That's not. We shouldn't be doing shit like that. And if there's no safeguard for impacting our overseas agreements like that, or let's take Nikki No Boats, cancelling the ferries, right? If there's no safeguards, that could seriously impact our relations with other countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering other things such as suddenly somebody had a license to operate in a general agreement that they'd be I don't know, I can't think of it. Let's say someone's the operator of a forestry company, and then the government's like, okay, now we own the forestry company and buy our product, and they're just like, you stole all our customers. That was not what we agreed with. Isn't it stuff like that? Because, well, answer me first before I ramble.
I didn't find anything in the principles that would result in that sort of outcome.
Is that an example of foreign relations?
If the company was a foreign company, let's say if we if it was like I guess if it was like a mining company based in the Cook Islands and the government just came along and said, yeah, we'll take that, or we're going to do something that impacts your ability to do trade with another country, we're just going to get in the way of that, or we're not going to uphold our agreements, to
like being nuclear free.
Yeah. That's probably more. That's more in line with what the principles are not really covering.
Because I heard, for this like talking politics and nations allies, they also have trade agreements, for preservation of resources, and so this is why supposedly we pay more for New Zealand beef than certain other countries. As a simple example, it's because of
Yep.
that keeps other countries happy, and it's not just about politics. Like, there is real practical reason for this.
Mhm.
But again, just to jump on my supposed leaders don't seem to know what they're doing. They're just ignoring all that and playing to their own tune.
What do you guys think of the claim that David Seymour's idea of poor regulations resulting to poor economic outcomes? It's like poor productivity.
Look, my first impression is that he's referring to, why can't I mine that mountainside because there's a snail there? Or
Yeah.
why can't I mount that mountainside, Māori historic value?
Yeah, so
Why can't I cut down that forest because there's an endangered frog in there?
Yeah, I want to plant my, super pine trees there.
well, I noticed that you've just paused on top of a section in the introduction, because it actually covers that.
Actually, no, I was stopped here because the part that I've got highlighted.
Yep.
I was having serious trouble getting over this. The
Hmm.
justification for promoting new legislation rather than improving elements of the existing system has not been made. If it were to proceed, the bill itself would be unlikely to meet the standards that the discussion document proposes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Which is fine. I'm not a policy writer, but this is, what my team suggests. Work with me.
Yeah, it's
But how can you have your discussion document is basically your introduction to what you want to introduce.
Yeah.
mhm.
How can you have that not meet the standards that you are proposing with the exact same piece of paper?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to result in improved productivity.
Well, yeah, improved productivity sounds more like profit at expense. Profit at, I don't value the same things you value, and I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've got another report. Yeah, I'm full of reports today. This is a productivity report from 2021. If people want to look through that.
Contracts. You're right. No.
But yeah, that's a very good read, because what's really interesting in that report that I just linked is the lack of reference to the Resource Management Act, right? Because people like David Seymour and Chris Bishop in the past have blamed the RMA for impacting growth and productivity. But it's funny, because if you were to go down to page 40 and 41 of that report, right? By the way, the report is the 2001 report from the New Zealand Productivity Commission. It's very funny.
Improvement. Okay.
Yeah. It's very funny if you look at the section, what can the government do to help? Okay. And I think it's great. Because in that report, in that section, it's not recommending scrapping the RMA or excluding Māori from participation. It's not even advocating for deregulation. But what it's asking for is what all the other reports have been recommending, which is consultation with industries, impacted bodies, agencies, right? And reviewing the policies that impact them and the people that rely on their services. In other words, right? The government doing the job that people voted them in to do, not offloading parliamentary responsibilities onto the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for this report, you want to go to pages 40 and 41, because that's the one that's the most relevant. But yeah, and I believe you're on page 41. But yes, this is a good section to read if people are interested in looking that up, because it just highlights right there what the government can do to help. It's not saying go trash the environment. It's not saying go trash Māori or do any of this other dumb shit. It's saying engage in consultation, have transparency, and review policies. So-
engage in consultation can be like the most productive thing that we can do.
Yeah.
The gift of speech and mind to be a hero like Richie McCaw.
Yeah. I mean, Richie McCaw, I'm pretty sure that when he was an All Black, right, he consulted with his teammates. Oh, this
Yes.
is the plan. This is what we're going to do. He wasn't just doing shit on his own.
That actually came up in my management training. Is
Yeah.
you know, he didn't just set the plays and say we're going to do this. He listened to everyone, weighed the best course, and chose to the strengths of the team.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all of my notes. And I know it was it didn't go as smoothly as I would have liked tonight. I'm sorry, guys. I had expectations and then I met reality. And the reality is that my internet crapped out. Ray got bored, and Stacey had to just
It's a little bit like that because how many times do I have to read the same word over and over again? And I do like engaging and being thorough. When I know how something works, I've got that information locked in, and getting that information locked in, 300, 400 pages, are you going to pay me to do it?
That's right.
I paid you to do it.
Yeah, no one pays me to do it. I'm just weird
Not
that
you.
way. I just,
yeah, like,
yeah. No, I'm just weird that way. I just look at shit and I go, hold on a minute.
mm,
And then I end up down a rabbit hole. And I go, well, fuck, how do I get out of the rabbit hole? And what notes can I take with me on the way out? And then I end up info dumping on everyone. And people go, what the fuck? I didn't ask for this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I really, really, really want to play a particular song, but I know that we'll get copyright hit for it.
Oh, what's the name of the song?
It's Politician by Cora.
Politician. I don't know the rest of the words.
Can you make the right decision
Decision for
for
all
all
of
of
us.
us? Yeah, that one.
All of us, yeah. There we go. There's our
Yeah.
bootleg version.
And you're
There it is. That's our drunk on a Sunday bootleg edition.
Right.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
all
one
good.
can deep.
It's yeah, look to your musicians.
Yeah. So I think in the future, folks, what we're going to do, if Sam ever gives me permission to ever do anything like this again, I don't think he will after this, is probably I'll just pre-record a video, put in all the slides, put in all the supporting video, and just edit it all myself and then put it on the channel. So I don't torture everyone to death with boring shit. Oh,
I
Stacey's
think that'd be
typing.
great, and I think I would read that.
Yeah.
Or watch that.
So that's pretty much. Welcome to, thank you for watching my TED Talk. I know it was crap, but hey, first time for everything. Thank you so much to all the viewers that hung in there, even though my microphone decided to die on me. I'm gonna blame David Seymour because I'm woke. And thank you so much.
Everyone else already blamed him.
Yeah, and thank you so much to Ray. Even though this is not what you wanted to talk about tonight, you wanted to talk about GMO tech.
No,
You didn't
but
want to talk about this shit.
I do.
Yeah,
That's- yeah.
technically, we've still got an hour.
I
Yeah,
assumed
mean,
it
I'm
was
more
the
than happy
same
to go
thing.
to- Yeah,
Well, because yeah. And also,
So-
it wouldn't be a tin the ballot without some kind of technical hitch. It's it
Oh,
humbles us.
yeah.
Listen,
And
Oh, yeah.
listen. I'm more than happy to go over any notes or anything you want to go over.
well,
It's only fair. You have to listen to me drone on for an hour.
well,
Right.
did I miss
Well,
the bolt
we
on or because so I haven't really attended an order paper podcast. Because
Yep.
I'm usually either working or due to work at 3 or 4 a.m.
Mhm.
Like I start work at 3 a.m., but it's fine. What would you usually be covering? Also, which bills are currently in Parliament?
Yeah, we normally just cover what reading has happened, and then we'll provide commentary on that. And we'd usually have politicians sped up at 2 times speed or 1.5, depending how boring they are. And then we'll just go through that, and then we'll provide commentary about how awesome or how stupid their position is.
Yeah, because unless you can't just sort of for full context, you've got to give the whole thing that just general feedback. The 1.5 speed can be a bit annoying.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Like, while we're doing the live stream, we can't really do anything about it because Sam's in control of everything.
Yeah.
However, if you are watching the clips on YouTube, you can change the speed yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You can slow down your video on your device, whatever, if you can't understand what people are saying.
Yeah, even if it's running live, you might even be able to pause and change the speed so that it's just not running live. It goes back to the recording's always there, even if it's currently live.
Hey, I mean, speaking at 1.5 speed, I do that by default. So yeah,
Yes.
slow down the stream. You get to slow me down too.
Okay.
But okay, so I've just had a look, and actually the gene technology bill has gone through the first reading.
Yep.
Okay.
So we can start looking at bits and pieces if we want to.
And also, please remind me what that process is. I'm your average Joe that's too busy existing to actually look into this stuff and blindly trusting that my superiors have my best interests at heart.
Excellent. Okay, so
Stealing my job. Get out.
yeah. Okay, so basically the first reading is when the bill is first brought into Parliament for debates. Okay, and then you get a whole bunch of people at the end of it say, I don't like this bill, or you get a whole bunch of other people go, yeah, I really like this bill. And from that point, it usually goes through to select committee where people the public get to go, actually, this bill's really cool or it's really shit. And here's why. And then they get to present their side of things, right? And they get to put forward their arguments. And then after that, it usually goes to a second reading, right? Where politicians get to beat each other up again.
Yeah.
And then if it goes through, everyone's like, yep, we're happy, we're cool, it goes to the third reading. If it's people aren't happy with it, then that's it, end of it, bill's dead. If it passes the second reading, goes into the third reading, because usually along the way there's like little amendments and stuff that's done to the, and then it gets to the third reading, people debate it some more, and if it passes, then it achieves royal assent, where basically it becomes law.
Okay.
So yeah, basically it's just politicians fighting each other.
Yeah, and it doesn't always make to first reading. There's that.
Yeah, I mean there have been some instances where it doesn't make the first reading. I think the Reg 3 Stance Bill is actually one of those really weird cases. I think that happened during like the second time it was put forward, or for whatever reason didn't quite meet all the standards. I didn't quite look into that. It's something really weird happened. But yeah, I've never really heard of that.
But no, usually people say it's not going to make it past first reading as a general.
Yeah. Basically, it means that the politicians have stood up and said, "No, this is shit, this is crap," and so that's usually the end of the debate right there. It's after the first reading, everyone goes, "No," so the House says nay or yay or whatever. Everyone says nay. Bill doesn't go forward. Doesn't even reach select committee. It doesn't pass go. It doesn't collect $200. Just like in Monopoly. So, yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Oh,
Well, and
I
also,
was not prepared for that.
just imagining politicians arguing, and nothing ever gets done.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's very funny. You get some very memeable moments. I mean, look, if we didn't get to see politicians debating in the House, we wouldn't have seen that moment where Hannah rips that bill up. That was great. I loved that.
Exactly.
That was a popcorn moment.
Yeah, so when I found that online, I can't remember where Ray and I were coming home from. It might have been when we'd gone to do mini golf, actually, at Brewtown. It is so good. But we were on the train, and I played the video.
Yep.
And there were other people in our carriage, and like I played it through a couple of times because it was just so amazing. And I could hear the ladies down the back end of the carriage talking about it because they could hear it. Yes.
That was during the first reading too.
Exactly.
First reading of that bill.
Exactly, yeah. And because they heard it playing on my phone, even though it wasn't loud, it got them talking about it.
Yeah. That's why the readings are really important.
Yeah,
that's part of the
and
reason why we do
debate
this show.
is important. I say I don't like the idea of politicians arguing, but it is very important to do so. It's just that they're playing politics with the planet. It's the game part of it that is starting to piss me off.
I agree. I wish that. Yeah.
It's
I
just
agree.
too much, and they're aware. Like this, we've woken up and they're just playing the game. Not us. The game.
Said the word.
Yeah.
I
woken
just
up.
lost the game.
Yeah, I mean that's right. I wish that politicians, right, when they're developing bills alongside with their teams, they would just fucking listen to the experts that work in these industries.
Mm.
But they quite often it's like what I've seen with the ACT Party, and with National is that quite often they'll go, "I have an idea. I'm going to find the shit that supports my idea. We're going forward with the bill. I'm going to ignore the shit that disagrees with me."
Yeah.
And then they waste a bunch of money
And time.
and time.
And resources. And sanity.
Yeah,
Because then
sanity.
we have to deal with it. But actually, Ray, you had a song playing the other day. And it said something, I can't remember what it was, but it said something in the song about they don't want to listen to the science.
I love
Hey,
that
what's
song.
that
And
song?
all I could think of at the time was, oh my God, they're talking about our government.
It's for those who like a bit of.
Is it copyright free though? Because we might get nuked off YouTube.
No, it's the album's called Mars Simulator. It's a bit.
Chevelle self-destructive.
Oh, it was Chevelle. That's what I
Oh, okay. I remember Chevelle.
Ready or
Chevelle is
not,
awesome.
it's time.
Yeah, that's a bit of
You
early
fought
2000s
us
nostalgia.
all, and this time you want it all. Rise. No.
All right. So, do we want to call it a night here, guys, or do we want to keep going?
I can
Well, I'm right out of
screen
stuff
us
to talk about.
the thing if we want. But I haven't downloaded it. So
okay.
I actually can't speed it up.
Ah. Oh, I'm pretty sure you can speed it up in the what's it called? What's that other Vimeo? I'm pretty sure Vimeo's got a speed.
Vimeo.
YouTube.
Yeah, but I've only got it on the government website. There we go.
Yeah. So it doesn't really have those features, does it?
Silence
Because we have already covered the first reading. But I'm more than happy if there's any clips or anything that you want to go over in particular or anything. I'm more than happy to go through it.
I don't remember. Was I here when we did this?
I can't remember either. But again, guys, if you're watching this stream, I don't know why, but if you're watching the stream,
Yeah, we'd
please
drop
go
it.
back to the first reading of the GMO bill.
Yes. And just so people know the difference, this link that I've just put in is the link to Cora Politician. If
Okay.
anyone doesn't know the song and wants to know what I'm on about.
And not want to listen to our really bad rendition of the song.
Exactly.
And where's our this show contains swear words. Just
Yeah. It's-
families could watch this at 10 in the morning.
No
You could get
family's
that daily dose of-
going to subject their children to watching this episode of the show.
No.
It's too boring for them. They may do it as a form of punishment.
Yeah. What I think is just so that, pardon me, people can get an understanding of the gene technology bill. We'll just listen to the introductory thingy for it. How does that sound?
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
YouTube will allow for that.
All right.
It's like, quick, 10 seconds and you're out.
Oh no, the gene technologies, not YouTube.
All right, yeah. I was going to say, it's like, you're going to play that song.
No, don't want to get us in trouble.
There we go. Okay.
Right, there we go. Oh, not that one. That one. Yeah, there we go. Right, okay. Let me know if the sound doesn't work. I don't know if I clicked the button.
Gene Technology Bill,
It
first
works.
reading.
Honourable Judith Collins.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I present
a legislative statement on the Gene Technology Bill.
That legislative statement is published under the authority of the House and can be found on the Parliament website. Honourable Judith Collins.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the Gene Technology Bill be now read a first time. I nominate the Health Committee to consider the bill. Madam Speaker, what a great day for science. As part of the agreements with our coalition partners, New Zealand First and the ACT Party, this government has committed to introducing a dedicated legislation for gene technology. This bill is a result of that commitment and the commitment we made to the New Zealand public to bring our regulations for gene technology into the 21st century. Our current regulations for genetically modified organisms are some of the most backward-looking in the world. New Zealand has lagged behind other countries such as Australia, Canada, England, which have safely embraced these technologies for the benefit of their people and their economies. Despite gene technologies having been in use in New Zealand since the 1970s, the restrictive rules and time-consuming processes we have imposed on researchers have made testing and embracing innovation outside the lab all but impossible, but no more. This government has listened to our research, primary industry and medical communities and the frustrations that they have felt over many years. Today, New Zealand moves into the present with a safe, enabling regulatory regime. The legislation will enable the sorts of innovation that will benefit New Zealand while effectively managing risks to the health and safety of people and the environment. Instead of continuing to frustrate, we want to enable New Zealand's biotech ecosystem to attract and retain the brightest minds so that we can deliver solutions to the challenges New Zealand faces, such as climate change, such as increasing the productivity of our primary sector, such as in conservation, such as human health, potential cancer cures. From advances in health treatments in our hospitals to supporting our farmers to produce the best food in the world, the transformative power of innovation is key to our country's future and key to making New Zealanders' lives better. A key objective of this legislation is to proportionately regulate gene technologies. A one-size-fits-all approach is neither efficient nor appropriate to managing risks to the health and safety of people and the environment, and we have decades of experience both here and abroad to proportionately regulate gene technology. With the new regime, the government is also taking a forward-looking and sensible approach to the regulation of innovative technologies like gene editing. Other countries around the world, from Australia to Japan to England, are safely embracing these very predictable technologies, and this new legislation will ensure we no longer lag behind. Rather than being apprehensive of innovation, we intend to regulate these more predictable technologies based on their most important factor, that's their outcomes. Previous approaches have been akin to regulating electric cars more stringently because they were a new technology, whereas our approach will be logical, science-based, safe and fair. As a small country, we need to be realistic about what we can achieve and where we can best rely on overseas expertise to deliver benefits for New Zealanders. Our gene technology regime will allow the recognition of comparable overseas gene technologies regulators, which will enable us to make better use of considerable expertise overseas and expand the number of medical therapies available to New Zealanders. This will also have the benefit of freeing up the time of our new regulator, enabling them and supporting their staff to concentrate on areas where their limited time is best spent. It will enhance the efficiency of the regime for researchers and developers of new beneficial applications. This government is committed to creating a new regime that provides both transparent and understandable decisions from the new gene technology regulator and enables participation under a number of application types so that the public can provide input. We believe an effective forum in which the public and users of the regime can express their views on these applications will be essential for public trust in building a more effective system over time. This will be enabled in a range of ways, from specific licence applications right through to the risk tiering framework which will underpin this new regime. I want to take a moment to address some of the rhetoric I've heard this year so as to assure New Zealanders of what this change means and what it doesn't. This change does not mean a free-for-all on genetic technologies in New Zealand. This change simply means that gene technologies have a pathway for regulatory assessment that is designed to ensure the public and environmental safety of New Zealand. This change does not mean that people have to use gene technologies. This change gives those who want to benefit from these technologies a regulatory approval method so that they can opt in. They do not have to opt out. They have to opt in order to use them. This change does not mean we can no longer have organics or be GE free. GE products have been in New Zealand for years, and things such as soy milk. Other countries with a gene technology regime still have organic sectors. Think of the United States and Australia. The US is the largest organics producer in the world, while also being the largest producer of GM food. This change does not mean that we are opening up the floodgates to genetic engineering of all kinds. Just to be very clear on that point, I can assure you the genetic engineering of human embryos will remain banned. What this does mean for New Zealanders and their families is this. New Zealanders will have better access to more effective cancer treatments such as CAR T-cell therapy if they want to. Our farmers will have access to productivity tools and emissions reduction technologies helping them meet their climate goals and get high yields, but only if they want to. Our scientists will no longer be confined to petri dishes, instead having the chance to get their amazing technology approved for use outside the lab, and the New Zealand economy reaping the benefits of that. Think genetically edited apples that take 1 year to grow, fruit and produce, rather than the 5 to 7 years of other apples. Think how useful that would have been after Cyclone Gabrielle decimated so much of the Hawke's Bay horticulture. And I've seen this in one of our labs, in the CRI, already being done here, but they can't take it out the lab. We already have the science to do all of this, and these are the productivity tools. If we use them, they will save family businesses and they will save livelihoods. This is a wonderful day for science, and I encourage all New Zealanders to engage in what gene technology can do for them. I would like to thank all the members and staff from around the House who have engaged with myself and my office on these changes. As this bill progresses through the parliamentary process, I encourage all parties not to lose sight of the real aims of this new legislation. Increased productivity isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It means more income for our hard-working farmers, horticulturalists, and support for our rural and provincial communities. Greater innovation isn't just another publication in a science journal. It means more tools to address the big challenges of our age and provides greater opportunities to incentivise our researchers to stay. A defining moment was the invention of the ability to precisely edit individual genes. The CRISPR process was announced in 2012 and it won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 2020. That changed everything because it means that we're not splicing together genes from different species, but we're editing existing genes. And more medical therapies aren't just a nice to have, it means more effective and safe cancer treatments, and it means greater hope and quality of life for patients and their families. I would also like to thank the staff at MB for all the hard work they've been doing, and also my own staff who have worked so hard to bring this to the House. Madam Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the
Excellent. So that's an example of what a first reading looks like, if you're wanting to know, Ray.
Yes.
I find this, I'm probably going to comment on this from the perspective of the Regulatory Standards Bill. Again, you know, we're talking about things like property rights and stuff like that, impact to the environment, you know, and then we look at it from the context of this bill, because quite often what you have to do with bills is you have to look at it in a holistic sense. You have to look at, okay, we've got this bill, what about the other bills that could impact it? And I think that's a really important way of looking at bills that are being proposed. What are your thoughts, Gray?
I had fucking distracted myself with it. She said USA was the largest producer of organics, and so like that doesn't sound right. In the USA, California is the largest producer of organics, and then you look it up and it's like, no, it's been India for the last 5 years, and then followed by Uganda and Ethiopia.
Yep.
According to this one, and it's again, it's I was listening and it sounds great, and they're doing the dig, you know, with the previous governments don't want to allow GMOs. They're all misinformed. And now we're moving away from the petri dish. Like, what do you think science is?
Well, I'm just I'm reminded of that of the submission by the on the Regulatory Standards Bill by the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment, where he does go over property rights, and I think that's a really interesting
point to bring up, especially when you're talking about GMO technology. It's like, who owns what?
That's my newest favorite conspiracy theory, but I'll come back to that. I appreciate that. Sorry, trying to be humorless here. Silly. Anyway, that you can opt in, and therefore you will be, as registered as a gene player.
A
So
producer of
that's cool.
GMO goods.
Yeah. So you opt in or opt out of their program.
Yep.
For a moment there, when she said regime, I thought she meant under the new regime, meaning this new government. I'm like, oh, that's rich. But no, she meant like this new way of assessing genetically modified materials. And she's correct that it's been around for a long time. It's just sort of, where does the part where apparently they don't have to label things come into it?
Now, I could be completely talking out of my ass here, so please, I encourage the chat to please fact check me. But I do remember a number of years ago, Monsanto getting to some beef with some other farmers who were in the process of like producing and selling seeds, and those seeds had genetic information from Monsanto's GMOs, and so they fought over
Which
that.
they had illegally thrown into their fields, by the way.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I can't quite remember the name of that case. I have to look it up while you guys are talking.
Do you know how long ago it was? Because The World According to Monsanto was a documentary in like 2010 that covered all this.
Monsanto seed lawsuit.
Typically maize, but it might have been other products.
Yeah, Indiana farmer. So in 1999, Indiana farmer Vernon Hugh Bowman bought bean seeds that contained Monsanto's patented genes. He saved the seeds from his crops to replant, but didn't pay royalties. So that's a really interesting point to bring up.
Yeah.
Where are the protections for the farmers if that happens here in New Zealand? Are they provided under the regulatory standards? Bill? Who owns what?
Yeah.
While it was playing, I literally just Googled downside to gene technology bill.
Yep.
Right? Has been criticised for its rushed process, lack of consultation, and potential risks to the environment, economy, and ethics.
There you go, lack of consultation.
And ethics, yeah.
It has also been criticised for failing to recognise Te Tere Te o Waitangi and the rights of Māori. Economic concerns. The bill could increase the risk of contamination and trade disruptions. It could increase costs for organic certification and higher prices for GMO-free products.
And I'm saying this as someone that supports GMO technology, by the way. All this stuff. You've got to have the proper legislation to protect farmers that don't do GMO stuff, right? The organic industry is a big industry for New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Environmental concerns. The release of genetically modified organisms could lead to ecological disasters. Ethical concerns. The bill could undermine the Crown's responsibility to protect Māori interests. It could limit Māori input and decision-making power regarding resources and taonga. Process concerns. The bill was rushed through Parliament with little opportunity for public engagement. The bill does not adequately recognise the social and cultural risks of gene technology. The bill does not adequately recognise the importance of whakapapa. Other concerns. The bill's marginal role of the Māori Advisory Board diminishes the interests of Māori. The bill does not adequately consider the impact on kaitiaki relationships with indigenous species.
That goes back to the failure of the regulatory standards bills being proposed. There's no reference to consultation with Māori. There's no reference to consultation with environmental agencies. There's none of that.
That's the number one failure in respect, and they expect, to be demanding respect, but failing to demonstrate it. There's no monarchy tonga.
I think, honestly, Seymour is expecting the Treaty Principles Bill to pass, and that's why none of his new legislation has references to Te Tere Te in it.
And that's B, the change you want to see. It is B, and then do the things that would do, and then you have the life cycle you want. A lot of people think it's, if I do this, I'll have that, and then I'll be that. But you do start with being it, so that's fair.
But yeah, I mean,
What was her name again? Sorry, who we're just watching?
Judith
That
Collins.
was Judith Collins.
Right.
Yeah.
She referenced another company, they didn't name it, but I could tell she meant like Monsanto, other like foreign regulator or gene specialists, and I'm just like, oh, and I shuddered just because we know what's happened.
Hmm.
Again, yeah, so there are a lot of good reasons to experiment, even if it's just allowing what is this? We've got some sort of blanket ban on genetically modifying, so then our research
We
labs
have
can't actually.
Yeah,
do
so
anything?
on the research side of things, we do allow for research, and we do
Okay.
allow for GMOs in our medications. Like, for example, diabetics medications do rely on genetically modified organisms, and that's really
Cool.
important,
Yeah.
right, to control insulin in people. My dad takes diabetes medication,
Hmm.
so that's really important. But yeah, we're talking about GMO crops and GMO animals and GMO, things that are for the agriculture and horticulture sectors. GMO trees, forestry, GMO
That's
vines.
not what Judith Collins was talking about, though.
She was.
She was
Yeah.
saying in general. She mentioned CRISPR, for
Yep.
as we already got technology to alter your own, design a baby.
Yes. So
That technology does exist, but it is
CRISPR,
not used here.
Yeah, I haven't looked into how it or if it's been used.
yeah, so we do study
I
with
remember
CRISPR
its
here.
inception.
I
Okay.
was talking to a geneticist the other day. He works for the University of Canterbury. He does this for a job, right? He experiments with genetic modification and stuff like
Wow.
that in the laboratory. And I had a really good back and forth with him. But the way how it's usually done is that it's kept in the lab. It's not released out into the wild.
Mm. Yeah, that's the huge part of it. Yeah.
And a lot of it's done for medical research as well. That's where we get a lot of our
Yeah.
money from in the biotech sector.
I appreciate that.
Sam.
And
Yeah.
future.
How's
like,
it going? I think
I'm
my name
sorry.
represents exactly my day.
Sam, the
I'm
tired barista, shows exactly how you're feeling, buddy.
Sam, I am so sorry. I had a presentation all planned out and everything, and it just went absolutely
Shit
tits up.
goes wrong.
Went
It's the
tits up.
reality land of doing it live. And to be honest, no, when I saw some of the comments like Kiwi Skit go like, oh, Sam's probably having a heart attack right now, I'm like being like, how else do you learn if it don't go wrong and go completely balls up in front of you?
There it
Hey,
is.
I'm just glad we did it on a day.
Like Shaz said, shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I'm just glad that we chose a day where it's not a sitting week.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's quite funny. Yeah, because it's like, oh heck, God, it's been a long day. I left home this morning before the sun rose, and I'm home after the sun set.
Nah, back at that, mate.
Oh, I mean, Ray's done a Newtown
It's
Festival.
character
He knows
building.
exactly what it's like.
Yeah, and the Wings of a Wire Raptor was another long day like that.
Oh,
Definitely good. You gotta do that.
Wings was long days like that, yeah.
yeah. Fuck. Oh God, that's years ago since you guys have done Wings.
But it cleaned up my skin. Remember, I had the red patches, like psoriasis on my forehead and stuff. Just do a
Yeah.
couple of hard days in the sun, interacting with people. Went away.
I nuked my skin
some
yesterday.
fruit.
I had to do a Modako presentation, which is Māori weaponry of my older sister.
Wow.
And it went exactly the same way how this live stream did.
Oh no.
Where everything just went wrong. Like, my older sister, we had all these kids and everything lined up to participate with us from our group. But they had to go to a tangi, and that was straight after Makatiri. So it was just me and her, and we had to grab a bunch of kids from the local school who had never done it before. And we're like, you know what? We're just going to hold a class. And, everyone liked it. It went as well as it could have, but it was not what we had in plan. But yeah, it's kind of nerve-wracking when you've got 1,000 people watching you.
How's that when you
Hold
by
a
Nuke?
class.
Yeah.
That was yesterday at the Across the Ages festival. It was absolutely burning in the sun. It's like, okay, we've got to run a half an hour, 40-minute demo, teaching these kids live in front of an audience, so they might be shitting themselves, live in front of an audience, how to do different Modako techniques and how to not kill each other with a stick.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, that's hectic.
And that starts
Gee.
early, right? You started at sunrise for stuff like that too.
Yep. And my sister almost died from embarrassment because I was on the microphone describing everything she was doing.
Oh,
And then we had to do a sparring match afterwards. It's like, okay, we're going to demonstrate all the techniques now. We have to hit each other with sticks, and we both got through that. We both survived.
Nice. Wait, so Modako or Motaiaha?
Modako.
Okay. Because I know that there's a difference and people confuse them.
Yeah, Motaiaha is just referring to using the taiaha.
Yeah.
Modako is referring to using just the straight stick.
Yeah.
We use both. We use both.
Right.
Yeah, I use taiaha and rako, but we use the rako for sparring. So we were mostly just doing sparring demos in front of people that were armored up in night costumes, because they do historical European martial arts, also known as HEMA, and they came out later to do their sparring demonstration. So we had to demonstrate in front of them who've been doing martial arts for like 30 plus years, and I'm over here. I'm like, well, shit, I'm not experienced as half of these guys. I've only been doing training for like 20 years or 15 years. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, fuck. Well, I got to explain to them every technique.
Can I ask more on the subject?
Sure.
Anyone else have any agenda? Could you make another distinction between Rako and I don't know, Taiaha? How do they differ?
So Rako is just a straight stick. It's basically a piece of manuka or kanuka. That's what we spar with.
Okay.
So that's what we do our fighting with. The Taiaha is a beautiful weapon, but as you can imagine, if we start fighting each other with that, not only do we damage the Taiaha, we also end up killing each other because they're heavy and they smash heads in.
Yes.
And I wonder a lot more about which trees you choose, right? So you mentioned Manuka and Kanuka. That sounds like a good training or learning tool because it's also got healing, cleansing properties. Many.
Yeah, our family Taiaha is made from black mighty. It's denser than the usual Taiaha.
So again, black.
But I love using the Taiaha. Yesterday for the first time I got to play with swords. I got to do some sparring with the historical martial art guys, and what I found is that the Taiaha, which is a two-handed weapon, weighs as much as a single-handed sword. And so when you're doing all the blocking, it's like I'm used to holding a weapon with two hands. Now I've got a weapon with one hand, and I've got to block with that and look like a fucking idiot.
You mentioned a tree I haven't heard before.
Mighty. It's kind of similar to rata. It's one of our densest woods. Very, very heavy.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful color.
Because I think akiake can make a good staff also.
Yep, akiake is good wood. Brittle, but it's good.
I expected it would be more brittle, but I found one and it was hard enough.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, did your mum end up going to Newtown Festival, Laura?
No, she went to the Martinborough Fair.
Okay.
Yeah, and they sold
there were
out.
some empty sites for those who sold out at Martinborough at Newtown, apparently, but I never saw it.
Yeah. So we were running the market at the Across the Ages Fair yesterday. It's just down the road from where I live. We just literally walked down there with all the gear. And then my parents were doing the Martinborough Fair, where they all sold out. So they pretty much came home a bit earlier. It was good. How did your market go?
I went through between 400 and 450 straws of cold drinks.
Wow.
Oh, that's akiake. Oh, mighty. Is quite mighty.
450. Did you have an assistant?
2.
Well, at least you got some help, man.
Yeah, but considering I've got a sprained ankle from today.
Fuck.
Oh.
Yep, and it was to do with now Ray, you probably remember how Emmett Street has the camber in it. And that is what caused and it was lowering the coffee cart into the camber to secure it, was where basically fell over, went through number 10's gate, and literally basically sprained my ankle, and I've only just taken off my steel caps from wearing it earlier today. So today is finally breathing after it's not been breathing for like ages. So
Red?
it's not too red. No, I'll assess it how the next 24 hours go before I see physio. I just think it'll be funny that how quick I turn up after being discharged off another injury for 9 months, which was at the Martin Harvest Festival last year.
Oh,
Um, Yeah.
Anyway, this is not the market show. We're talking about market.
We're finding out which markets have happened wherever.
Winding
Yeah,
down.
I didn't leave Emmett Street all day, but anyone knows me who has done Newtown Festival. Typically, the street you're in, you don't tend to leave.
If you can.
That's like, I mean, that's like happened year after year after year. Yeah, well, you know, Martin and Anna did a brilliant job running the festival again. This is the last time they're going to be spearheading the lead of Newtown Festival. Next year, the baton will be passed on to someone new. I think it could be for the first time in 30 years.
Wow.
I got a question for you, Sam.
Yes.
How do you think the regulatory standards bill would impact your business as a coffee cart operator?
I really don't know. I mean, for all I know, it could actually cause a lot of harm for my business because it seems to be geared towards multinational corporations over the little guy. Yeah, this is something that has been a problem with New Zealand's duopoly with the supermarkets.
Yeah.
That's the fact that, and this happened actually in Newtown. Progresses by the corner of John Street, Adelaide Road. The property next door ends up in the market, so Foodstuffs buys it to stop Progressives building a car park in there. Then Progressives get forced to build an underground car park of 2 levels. Then, once Progressive opens a supermarket, Foodstuffs sells the land. Now, this is just going to become more and more of a problem if this bill does pass, because it doesn't, it basically sits there, by the sounds of it, it's going to undermine the Commerce Commission, which is making sure that we actually have good competition in there. And I mean, and this is evidence where it comes to things like New World Faundon, they acted like, well, if we don't get our way, we're just going to do a judicial review over the cycle lane. So, and you're going to have that style of corporation type of behaviour.
Yeah.
And so it won't help the little guy. It's just going to sit there and screw them over, which, goes quite against what, they keep going, oh, but we've got to support the small businesses. I mean, that's the reason why Brook Van Velden didn't really want minimum wage increase, because the poor business owners are going to go bust over a 1% pay rise. I mean, if your business is so far stretched on the line, maybe it does deserve to fail on that logic. But I mean, like Brook Van Velden, who's never actually even ran a business before, so I mean, I don't even think she even has. And also, yes, Kiwi Scott, I do know that, and that was after more recent Commerce Commission rulings, but that was a thing that went on for ages, but that could end up happening again if this bill goes through, because it might undermine what the Commerce Commission powers have been done in order to prevent that sort of stuff.
Yeah. But I think
that does sound right on the Kiwi Scoot. Yeah, no, it was a couple of years, because I think David Clark was the minister who was in charge of the bill that passed it. Yeah,
and again, this is why I kind of changed the tone of the stream halfway through when I realised that using 4 points ain't going to work, because it's important to ask other people how the bill's going to impact them and what and of course the GMO technology bill. Sure, Ray, got no problem covering that again, because we can look at it from a new lens now.
Yeah, because we now have a different lens to look at it.
Look, I'm a tired moron, but I'm a subconscious genius. And wouldn't small businesses save the economy and make a healthier, happier?
Well, it depends what you do. If you run school lunch programs, there is a business in Gisborne that's going into liquidation because it lost its school lunch contract.
Yeah. That stuff makes me far too hot to talk about.
Small businesses can certainly help a circular economy, rather than locking up money into big corporations and then sending it offshore.
It's a classic move.
Getting what Linda McGregor has sat there and labelled as, in order to make the business for companies to make things profitable, the food cost could be no more than 80 cents per unit.
Yep.
If that was
That's some kind
literally...
of average.
Yeah, like that's what she said. In order to make a decent profit, pay your taxes and do everything, under her business model, she would have to be, her cost per unit of school lunch would have to be 80 cents.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's funny how this coalition will choose what bills they want to put a budgetary restriction on, and what bills they won't put a budgetary restriction on.
But yeah.
Because that's one of the issues that we went over before with the regulatory stance bill, is that one of the problems with the way how we do regulations here in New Zealand is we don't have a budgetary constraint on how much a bill's going to cost to implement, or how much is a... Yeah, so it's really interesting. And, I think it is important to have flexibility when it comes to funding for different things, each according to their needs, I
mean, the same also comes to things like food safety.
Mm-hmm.
The government does not actually put any central government funding to it. Effectively, MPI and their subsidiaries, being the local councils, effectively are regulated by the people who hold the licensing certificates.
Yep.
And in the case of councils, often they end up picking up a lot of slack of unfunded mandates because of things like complaints that actually find no cause. That's something that my health inspector recently told me about, of the things there, because I had to discuss from Vinegar Hill a food poisoning complaint. And the food poisoning complaint also stated in there, because they didn't want to do it publicly, they would do it anonymous via the Queen, stated that that's all he ate that day, and it's got whipped coconut cream on there. And what's the first thing to go running through your body if you've got nothing in front of it in your digestive system? It's got, whipped cream does that, whipped coconut cream does that. That does it when it's not off.
Yeah.
Nothing's buffering it along the way. That's the reason why when you have desserts and they have cream on top, that's why you have it at the end, because you got your main meal to sit and buffer, the cream going through there. I mean, I don't know how we got onto digestive.
I've learned that accidentally. And I hope they learned from that and were humble rather than just complain. Food poisoning can be scary, but a lot of people are ready to complain. We're also kind of taught that, America's our great babysitter. You know what I mean? Like we get all of our TV from there, at least those of us that grew up. And we're taught that you can just sue anyone. If you don't like it or they pissed you off, just sue them. And luckily, it's not that easy.
Yeah, pretty much.
And what scares me in some ways here is how difficult it could be to sue or request justice. For example, before I left working when I worked in kitchens, one of my biggest frustrations was that my staff members wouldn't label things. Sure, they're in there every day, they know when it is, but the point is multiple people just put the date on the fish. It's fish, it's seafood. You got to put the date on it, and I got so over it. But also, I wasn't being paid correctly. By the time I summoned up enough effort to go contact community law, they closed for lockdown, and then it was lockdown. And I went back to gardening, much healthier.
Yeah, mate, yeah. And now you're a train guard.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone that.
We can always sit there and say that you regularly do trains on the Southern, Eastern, and Western line, but you probably gather that that's in Auckland.
Oh, okay. I was Hutt Valley all day. I do get on our new Kiwi Rail rules app. I get updates for other lines around the country. So it's good. I wanted to jump back to the duopoly. So.
Well, I mean, here's another one is there, and you guys would have seen it in the run sheet. Friday night, I got falsely accused of not paying for my shopping. It's a problem where you can just sit there and go, screw you, I'm not coming back to you. But the problem is, where am I going to go? Or am I going to go to Countdown Kabuni? Oh, well, Woolies Kabuni? Oh, wait a minute, they're owned by the same person.
Was it?
And in that particular case, I mean, I paid for the shopping.
Yeah.
And I had the receipt and everything. It was like, the worst part there was not actually getting the apology. I mean, Stacey, you might actually know. You used to work for a supermarket.
I did.
What was the procedure when you screwed up like that?
I never had or saw that happen, so
I would be dragged into the boss's office. Having worked at a supermarket myself for foodstuffs, yeah, I would have been just dragged into the boss's office and given a warning, and if you do this again, you're fired. Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like put it this way: self-service checkout did not activate problems, and the alarm buzzer as you go out didn't trigger.
Yeah, it's. I'm
there
just.
you go.
I'm
Like
looking through
that's the thing, and it wasn't the security guard that intervened. It was the supervisor of the self-service checkout.
because I'm looking at. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
see you later, Kiwi Skirt.
And like some people have like sat there and like told me to do big wholesale orders with Wilson's. It's like, mate, I'm trading 1 day a week.
Yeah,
It's not going to work. And yeah, I'm like forced to I did lay a complaint, and I had to go to the person who accused me of stealing to ask for a supervisor.
You know what's funny? Through all of that, I was reading through the Liberty section of the principles for this bill. And it's kind of funny because put it this kind of conflict of how supermarkets do their own monitoring of other people. They said that legislation should not unduly diminishes a person's liberty or personal security or freedom of choice or action.
Okay.
Does that mean that people have a right in the supermarket or whatever to not be filmed if they don't want to be filmed? Like, I guess the argument there would be like, well, you walk into the business and you're consenting to being filmed, but
like put it this way: do you consent to be filmed at the local work and income office?
Well, I mean
that's a government agency.
Don't they have decent posters and stuff like showing you that you are under surveillance, right?
Yeah, but if you go, hey, I'd like to have an appointment, but I refuse to go to the office because of security cameras, you'll get told, nah, mate, sorry, we're not giving you a benefit.
Yeah.
We at least need to record your phone conversation. I mean, there's been good reason. It's the classic, a few bad apples ruin the bunch. But,
oh yeah, completely. I mean, yeah.
Said with compassion. I don't condemn anyone.
Yeah, and actually, that's the thing. There is this poor checkout.
But yeah, privacy laws.
Self-service person might be up for a disciplinary on the complaint. Even though I did say I don't think it's a complaint. I think it's an honest mistake, and he's been taught how to do it.
It happened on
situations.
It happened on our trains, except the train manager didn't give the passenger the benefit of the doubt, and so they'd been detected as failed to tag on. They were having a rocky morning. He snatched their snapper card and held it up to the train and said, "This, this happens once. We get this once a day, kind of thing."
It's all over Facebook at the moment.
So and early in my career, I felt that way one day. I never went that far, but I did find myself almost making that kind of comment. Was like, oh, there's always someone trying to get a free ride, but I caught myself doing it, and went, oh my god, like it's a slow slip to I'm looking for this behavior, so I'm going to find it. And basically, like all my trains run smoothly. It's no issue. I don't understand how others are still removing people who refuse to pay. Like I just either it's my luck or it's my karma or it's you get out what you put in. But also on that note, you walk into a supermarket, you agree to being filmed, yet conditions of carriage by using our service, you agree to these conditions, and it's like, it's a strange time to live in. I
mean, the next thing that's going to happen is I go to the self-service checkout and it doesn't print out my receipt. I'm going to be, and usually it's screw.
But you'll immediately say, hey,
Now it's going to be, I'm going to do it. And they go, oh, God, why are you doing that again? Well, hey, this is what happens when you falsely accuse someone of stealing.
Yeah. Let's have no receipt.
Manually
audit me. I'll audit you.
Right. But it is about time for us to wrap up, guys.
Yep.
Sam has not changed over the QR codes for us.
No, that's true.
And I have no idea how to do that. So before we go, I'll throw those
in the chat.
So we have the Customs, Levies and Other Matters Amendment Bill closing Monday the 10th. Highlight the whole thing. Try again. We have the Multi-Purposes Bill closing Thursday the 27th.
I mean, I should get informed, right? Go, carry on.
Right.
What's the Multi-Purposes Bill?
Anti-money laundering and Countering Financing of Terrorism Amendment Bill. That's a long one. Closing Friday, 28th of March. And all of those are 11:59 p.m. So right before midnight.
That's traditional with yes, and if you don't get able to get the submission electronically online by midnight, you have up until 12 p.m. the following day to hand a paper copy into Parliament's office to the clerk of the office.
Copy. Thank you for that.
Yeah, as got done with Treaty Principles Bill, that people who couldn't submit it in emailed friends in Wellington to hand walk it in to Parliament. Yeah.
Other matters.
But anyway, minor background, multi-purposes bill I saw is just about nope, it's gone.
Don't worry. So
you'll remember it one day.
We know it exists. We'll look into it.
I'll remember one day. It's fine.
Yeah.
You can go and have a look and find out for yourself. Look at that.
Yeah, I can get myself.
Right.
Let's call it here, folks.
It is, yeah. Find out here first. Look at us go.
Yeah.
Hey. But all right, guys, it is after 10 o'clock, so it is time for us to sign off. Thank you, Laura, for doing everything you did tonight.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry it sucked.
You did a good job. It's not easy to pull it off.
Yes, Ray, thank you for staying up so far past your bedtime, considering you're on light up tomorrow.
That's good. Runs itself.
Oh, Sam,
I had a nap.
Jumping in at the last minute with us.
Yeah, I know. I've been up 16 hours today, and also didn't sleep well last night. I didn't do the paper run, but my body woke me up to try to do the paper run. It wouldn't let me sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that feeling.
All right. Yeah. Cheers for joining us tonight, everybody. Thanks for hanging out through all the technical difficulties.
See you next week, where I'll be less tired.
We'll get you next week at 3 p.m. because
we've got a marathon day.
The Treaty Principles Bill marathon.
Wow.
And it won't be as cringe.
A normal show at 8 p.m. So we will see you then.
Okay.
Good night.
Right.
Ka kite ano.